All right, so in this video, I'm going to walk you through my updates to our single family rental model. So with all the continued growing interest in the single family rental space these past few years, I wanted to delve into an acquisition model for this asset type. And prior to starting from scratch, and what we encourage all of you to do is I poked around on our website as I knew Spencer had already shared a model with everyone. And rather than start from scratch, I decided to take his model and customize it for quote unquote my needs. And this is the result of me doing that to Spencer's model. And again, we encourage you guys to go and download our models and customize them for your needs. So what is really a first on our site is I'm taking an existing model that Spencer built and I'm revamping it. And this will be the first co-authored model between us on the site. So in this video, I've already made the updates, so I'll do a side-by-side of what these updates are, and hopefully you can utilize this model if you're going after single-family rentals. All right, so again, this video is intended to be an overview, so what I'll do is I'll go over the major changes between Spencer's model and this one. I'll do that first, and then I'll go over more of the nuanced changes. So I'll start major, and one of the first things I did is I updated this to be an exclusive hold scenario. So if we come to Spencer's model, you'll see he has the ability to do a hold or a flip, and I just took the flip scenario out. And so, you know, that may be a disappointment to some users, but that being said, you could still utilize this as a flip model. It's just your budget, what you'll notice in Spencer's model is a construction budget. That's gone. So you'll have to just model the budget off the model, but you could still plug in the number right here. And it still essentially works as a flip depending on how long you use your hold, how long you make your hold period. So it's not a major change. It's just that optionality with the drop downs taken out. And the next thing I did is on the previous model, you'll see we have the assumptions in the summary tab in different locations. What I've done here is I've put the assumptions next to the summary, and that way as you're updating, you can just see it side by side as you're updating what's going on with the assumptions. And I've added a bunch of things here, and we'll go through that in a bit more detail. All right, so next up, I altered this from a 7-year max hold to a 10-year max hold. And if you'll notice in the previous model, you could put a max hold period at stabilization of 60 months, and then you have 12 months to renovate, and then another 12 months to market to max out at 84. And you'll see here he has 84. I updated this to just be an aggregate of 120. So this gives you just a little more time. The next thing I did, so with removing the construction budget, I actually added a Capex Detail, which allows you to put Capex line items. And here you put your total square footage or total units, cost per square foot or cost per unit, and then you'll get your total unit cost, how long these units or items typically last for, and the life remaining, and then it automatically calculates what type of reserve you have. So if this is 10 years and you have 5 years left, you need to start budgeting a little heavier. And you'll notice that after 5 years, the budget drops back down. It's then calculating a 10-year assumption. And in here you have inflation, and that's black text. I can make that blue. So it actually grows by inflation over time. All right, and then the final major thing I did is I added an ability to refinance. So you could come here and you can click yes, and then you could pick the year that it refinances, and you can go through that whole thing. So you have an option to refinance at a certain point. All right, so those are the major changes. They're still important changes, but they're smaller, so I'll go through those now. And we'll start here in the summary section, and I'll kind of go through each of these boxes within. So, well, the assumptions and the summary. So in the summary section, I'll start here. I removed the duplicitous content that you'll see here. There was some stuff that was pulled over from the assumptions tab. So I pulled that out because it's all on one page now. I also added more partnership structure details. So you'll see we actually have the partnership structure here. You'll see general partner at 50, and the 2 limited partners, that's the capital in, and then you'll see we have fees. I have acquisition and disposition fees here. Then there's a return structure, so I have our preferred return and then what the proceeds split above the pref is. So you'll see how that all works right on the front page. And then this has not changed. This is from the previous model. And then below I've added a sensitivity analysis on average cash on cash and IRR based on what our initial rent could be, and then potential growth. All right, so that is the summary section. And now in the assumption section, I'll go through each of these boxes. And so, as I mentioned earlier, I removed the strategy selection dropdown between flip and hold. I added an ability to put beds and baths here, just so you could look at that on the summary page. In timing, no changes other than that you can now go out to 120 months. The acquisition section, I fleshed this out a bit. I added a transfer tax input. I added closing costs plus placing tenant. And I added in the going in cap rate metric, so you can review that. Disposition, rather than putting in a hard number sales price, I gave you the ability to grow the home value over a year. So in this example, we're growing at 4.5% year over year. And that's all for this one. Here I added the ability to put in HOA fees for fixed operating expenses. Financing, I added hard costs for the loan. So if you had your own hard costs, you could drop those in there. And then again, the refinancing section here, it's basically a copy of what's happening up here. It just adds the year you want to refi, if this is a refi, yes or no. And then you get the equity proceeds in addition, how much equity comes out from the refi. And then the last piece here is I added an input for leasing costs. And so what this does is it's basically just a high level assumption that says, is there a leasing fee every year? So assuming that these are 12-month leases, if you're paying somebody to do the leasing, maybe it's 1 month, so you'll put 100%. But if you think maybe you're going to have renewals, you could blend it out. So maybe every 4 years you get a renewal. So that's the last thing. So that's everything on this tab. The only other spot that I made updates, well, I shouldn't say that. I made all those updates. There's an ability, it all flows through the model. So I did make updates on the monthly and the annual cash flow tab. It includes all that. The Capex Detail, you'll notice here, this used to be just a percentage. It says see Capex Detail sheets. That's the one other thing. And that that flows through the capital reserve amounts. Okay, so the last section, the partnership cash flow section. So I altered the cash outflows. Before, this was modeled basically owner sponsor, money comes out from them first, and then any other expenses thereafter are covered by the limited partners. So I changed this just to be pari passu all the way through. So if they're invested 50, 25, 25 here, that's how it's going to go throughout the rest of the model. All right, and the only other thing I did here was I added an acquisition fee up here, which you can plug in, and a disposition fee here. And I believe that is everything. So, I'd say, download this model, check it out. Love to hear feedback. And I hope you get use out of it. If this is a strategy you're pursuing, I hope that you find this useful. All right. Till next time.